rise in migrants causing a humanitarian crisis at the southern border. Good evening and welcome to Faith Nation. I'm Jenna Browder. Do not come. That was the message Vice President Kamala Harris had for migrants trying to make it through Mexico to America. The message came as she traveled south to meet with the leaders of Guatemala and Mexico to discuss the migrant surge. Her trip came with a lot of criticism. She didn't actually visit the border and the humanitarian crisis. Some lawmakers have traveled to the border, though. Republican Congresswoman Kat Cammack is one of them. During her recent trip to Texas, we caught up with her. I asked her what she saw.
Well, what I've seen is just unconscionable. It is the most heartbreaking humanitarian crisis that I've ever seen in my lifetime. And what I saw just yesterday was 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds walking up to Border Patrol agents out of the brush. It's unconscionable, really. There's no other word. You get so upset and you want to cry, but then you get so angry because this is a man-made disaster from the lack of leadership that we have in Washington. I saw and spoke with young girls who have taken 17, 20-day journeys from Guatemala, Honduras, up through being escorted by cartels. Their parents have paid $6,000. And when they're struggling to speak, we ask the Border Patrol agents why they're having a hard time speaking. And it's because they've lost their voice from screaming because they have been raped. It is unconscionable what we are seeing down here. This is a humanitarian crisis. This is a national security crisis. And we are encouraging this through the policies of the Biden administration. This is human trafficking happening right in front of us. And if you are a 6-year-old, you are being trafficked back and forth, used as a pawn by the cartels.
So I understand you went on a walking tour to see the current operations at the border. What was that experience like? What did you see on that walking tour?
So what we've seen is a couple of different things. The wall, for example. The wall construction has stopped completely. In this sector alone, the Rio Grande Valley sector, which is the busiest one as far as apprehensions, narcotics, smuggling happening, they were allocated a little over $2 billion for 110 miles of border wall back in 2017. To date, they only have 23 miles completed. And of that 23 miles, only 3 miles has the technology that has the sensors, the cameras, and the lights as part of it. There's gaps everywhere. And because of the humanitarian crisis, they have taken the 900 Border Patrol agents that would be in the field apprehending and turning people around. They're now in the Donna facility and elsewhere, basically glorified babysitters trying to manage the humanitarian crisis with all of the unaccompanied minors that have come across. The border wall, it works. I have talked to dozens of agents and they say, we need the wall. Please resume construction. And the most egregious thing of this is that we're still paying the contractors.
So we're told you also toured a migrant processing facility. Was that the Donna facility?
Yes, so we saw both the Donna facility where they are processing children and families, but we also saw TOPS. TOPS is literally a bridge, and then underneath that bridge, it's construction, wiring and barricades that they have put together, kind of like a nightmare Disneyland of sorts, where illegals can come right up, self-report, basically just walk up and say, hey, I'm an unaccompanied minor and I'm supposed to turn myself in, not just cross the river. And they get processed and then they get turned over to an NGO. And then the NGO pays for a bus ticket to go anywhere in the United States that they want to go. They are just completely overwhelmed. And this is happening with facilities all along the border. The conditions are as best as the Border Patrol agents can make them. Customs and Border Patrol has done a phenomenal job with the limited resources that they have. But at the end of the day, these folks are not here to be babysitting children. They're here to be protecting our borders. And we are being distracted by this humanitarian crisis that's happening. Meanwhile, narcotics are flowing at a rate of 5,000% increase from just last year.
So let me ask you this. You know, we see this situation really worsening by the day. We see some of these images. Yeah. Here's horrific stories. Congresswoman, what do you think is the solution?
The solution really is implementing what the Trump administration had put in place. Something as simple as a queue, establishing a queue where people coming across a legal port of entry, if that goes away, which it's currently being litigated right now as something that should go away, if that goes away, we're going to see thousands of illegal migrants trying to basically rush to get across that single white line onto U.S. territory, because then that automatically triggers a process. With a queue, it's orderly, and it allows Customs and Border Patrol to allocate their resources to narcotics detection, to the smuggling. We have gang members, terrorist watch list folks that are coming across. These are the things that Border Patrol agents need to be focusing their resources on, not processing unaccompanied minors who are being brought over by the cartels by the thousands.
Well, Congresswoman Kat Cammack of Florida, we appreciate you being with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thousands upon thousands each week. We will break down the numbers of the border surge when Faith Nation returns.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crab Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time: keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Every day, 6,000 illegal immigrants are flooding the U.S. border, creating a hotbed of drug smuggling and human trafficking, a combination that puts women and little girls at the greatest risk. Tara Mergener recently traveled to the Rio Grande Valley and brings us this report.
We're in the Rio Grande Valley looking across the river at Mexico. This is the busiest place for illegal immigration in the United States. It's our first visit since the change in administration, and the first time we've been told Border Patrol is not allowed to assist us. But thanks to the help of local law enforcement officials and private citizens, a glimpse at what many believe is a crisis growing out of control. Feet firmly on U.S. soil for the first time. A group of mostly Central American migrant mothers and children smiling on the homestretch. Like the 6,000 others per day reported to be going around official entries at Texas's southernmost point, they believe the journey is a success. What made you come to the United States now? Was there something you heard in your own country that made you decide this was a good time to come?
He saw in the news there was a new president and he had more opportunity.
Smugglers see more opportunity too as they navigate dangerous rip currents racing across the Rio Grande one after the other, hour after hour. Mexican authorities watch it happen from the water as U.S. border agents manage dozens, even hundreds at a time, while also trying to keep cameras away.
Okay, can you please not interfere in our enforcement? Because this is private property. The government does not own this property, but they're telling us we have to leave right now.
During the commotion on shore, scouts give the all clear for another crossing. the distance only about the length of a football field. This is the Mexican side of the border. In the sand, the footprints of thousands of migrants who've waited to cross into the U.S. with the help of a smuggler. It happens all day, every day. Fearing for her own safety, this resident asked we hide her identity. In the last couple months, how many rafts have you seen cross in the time you've been out here?
If I had to give you an estimate, I would say at least 60, 70 per day. Hundreds of people. Most come from Central America, traveling weeks to get here. Nearly all claim to be fleeing violence and poverty.
What will you do now that you're in the United States?
Pues aprovechar la oportunidad que se nos ha brindado ante todo, ¿verdad?
Along the way, many become victims of abuse and exploitation.
Teníamos en un bus como ese y se subieron en Veracruz. Un agente de la PGR nos revisó y nos quitó todo lo que traíamos, dinero.
Often at the hands of drug cartel members, they pay thousands of dollars to get them here.
Especially we have women and little girls coming in thousands. And we all know that women and little girls have a 60 to 80% chance of getting raped.
Not all who make the trip survive.
Sometimes see dead bodies floating and stuff because they try to make it across, or they get snagged on the bottom, or whatever reason they don't make it.
Still, many do, including the unaccompanied children crammed into this overflowing detention facility in Donna, Texas.
Every facility we have along the southwest border is over capacity right now. Just yesterday, we had over 10,000 people in Border Patrol custody. That's much higher, especially under COVID constraints, than any facility should have.
We saw makeshift facilities like this one under a bridge intended to go undetected by media and other observers. Migrants are then sent to area shelters and in a matter of hours, free to go.
They're released so they can continue their legal proceedings here in the United States, somewhere where they're going.
Only recently is the Border Patrol confirming the record numbers being released into the U.S. without court dates, as the system grows more overwhelmed by the day. In March alone, an estimated 171,000 plus entered the U.S. illegally, 5 times more than a year ago. By year's end, the number expected to reach more than 1 million.
As soon as they get it to this side, they go ahead and flag down Border Patrol because they want to get caught, because they know they're going to get processed and then shipped out to wherever they're going to get shipped out. They're not going to get deported back to their country.
Signs of the migrant surge, like these pants left behind, are obvious on the border. But experts say the problem is increasingly being felt across the nation in areas far from the Rio Grande Valley. In South Texas, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
A migrant illegally makes it across the border. Where do they go next? More exclusive reporting when Faith Nation returns.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. Tikkun Olam.
This is our nature as a country.
To make the world a better place.
Literally, we felt the earth shaking.
The Christian Broadcasting Network presents To Life, how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
This film needs to be seen by everyone.
I was in tears.
Now you can own the inspiring documentary to life on DVD.
There is blood on our hands if we know and we walk away.
I'm so grateful that this film was made.
To Life can be yours for a gift of $10 or more. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com.
We know that every minute counts to save life.
It'll bless Israel, but it'll also bless all the friends of Israel.
Discover the untold story of how Israeli volunteers are making the world a better place. Call 1-800-700-7000 or log on to cbn.com to get your copy today.
Welcome back. Well, Border Patrol works to stop illegal immigrants from crossing the border into the United States. But inevitably, some do make it past. So where did those migrants go? Tara Mergener continues her reporting from Texas.
Signs of the migrant surge, like these pants left behind, are obvious on the border. But experts say the problem is increasingly being felt across the nation in areas far from the Rio Grande Valley. Sneaking into Texas's Rio Grande Valley, now by the thousands per day. Most traveling through multiple countries to get here in search of the American dream. Were you worried that once you got here, if they would let you in or not?
Yes, I was worried, but God granted this opportunity.
Record numbers taking that same chance, nearly all paying smugglers to get them here, then turning themselves into border agents. And within hours, dropped off by the dozens at area shelters. Bus stations.
We supply them with backpacks that'll have water and blankets, masks, a snack pack.
And even airports. On our plane to Dallas, migrants packed the flight, some with first-class tickets. Due to the lenient immigration policies now in place, most will never face a judge.
Usually you're given a court date and you are supposed to appear, which most don't appear, but at least you're given a court date. Now they're not even given a court date.
Once again, we have to begin with the rising cases of coronavirus in the U.S.
Not to mention, this is all happening during a pandemic. Forget temperature checks, as Border Patrol only tests migrants with symptoms. Others are checked at pop-up sites like this one at the Brownsville bus station. We saw how those testing positive were placed across the room from others, yet they still boarded buses bound for cities across the U.S., some likely spreading COVID along the way. Organizations like Catholic Charities are also in the middle of the chaos. The difference we saw is that they test hundreds of migrants each for the virus. Anyone testing positive packed into vans and sent to area hotels where they are urged.
We'll test them every single day until we see a negative test result. In the meantime, they get cared for, meals and anything they need.
But not forced to quarantine.
We're in the middle of a pandemic. For so long, we've been told, stay home. Kids cannot go back to school. Keep your business closed. I don't understand what their comprehension is, to allow so many people to come in.
According to law enforcement, that large number is also due to smugglers who are cashing in to the tune of billions of dollars.
Do you think that the increasing numbers coming over right now is going to create more opportunity for these smugglers?
Yes, I firmly believe that it's going to increase the numbers of stash houses. The individuals that are crossing the river, they pick them up along the river in a vehicle and bring them to an area such as this one here.
Migrants, some kidnapped, others running from the law themselves, are often kept in deplorable conditions as their keepers demand more money to take them deeper into the U.S., often along with drugs.
What kind of people hide in stash houses?
We've had elderly, from male, females, female with a newborn, children.
Until recently, Border Patrol's intel team conducted hundreds of stash house raids per year. But we're told many have been reassigned to caring for the migrants once they cross the border, leaving law enforcement to catch smugglers on the next leg of the journey on the nation's highways and back roads.
They try alternative routes. They're always looking to find different routes to smuggle, whether it's humans or narcotics.
Hidalgo County constables are among those getting federal money to pay for overtime on border security. That includes traffic stops like this one, where we saw officers suspicious of a speeding car full of young men heading north.
This is just one of a number of these stops just in the last, really few minutes.
Our deputies, along with Border Patrol, have conducted more than 8 to 10 traffic stops within the last 30 minutes. And obviously, they got one.
9295, and as we learned of another disturbing trend, U.S. citizens are increasingly helping migrants evade authorities. All of this leading to the same question: who and how many more migrants get away each day? In Hidalgo County, Tara Mergener, CBN News.
The jungles of Colombia, the hotbed of drug smuggling and human trafficking. But exactly how are drug cartels pumping narcotics from there into the U.S.? We'll show you next.
It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
Wednesday at 3 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Record amounts of cocaine are being pumped into the U.S. on the backs of immigrants flooding the border. A highway of human trafficking is winding through Colombia's treacherous Darien Gap, all benefiting drug cartels. CBN's Chuck Holton braved the jungle to bring us a first-hand look at the untold human suffering.
Every day, boats arrive here in the tiny Colombian border town of Capurganá. But these aren't tourists. They're migrants from all across the globe.
Most of them are from Africa, Pakistan, India, and Haiti, and some Cubans. It's a humanitarian crisis.
What should be an out-of-the-way fishing village has become the last off-ramp on a human trafficking highway that plunges right through the forbidding Darien Gap. These migrants aren't customers, they're products. And their desire to make it to the U.S. means big profits for the smugglers who send them into the jungle.
You know, I don't like to talk too loudly around here, but basically that's what they do. They pay the young kids here to be the mules. They take them over the mountains or through the, to the San Blas.
But there's another commodity here that's even more profitable: cocaine. This country has always been the #1 exporter of this illicit drug, but the amount being grown in Colombia today is near an all-time high.
With President Uribe, we got as small as 40,000 hectares. With President Santos, who sold to the world that he was the peacemaker, we get into 300,000 hectares.
Eradication efforts haven't been as effective in recent years due to concerns about the health risks of spraying coca fields from the air. So Colombia has had to resort to methods which are less effective and much more dangerous.
We have 16 soldiers, policemen, and eradicators killed by mines because the guerrilla put mines everywhere around.
So I wanted to try and track this group of migrants we watched go into the Darien Gap on the Colombian side when they came out the other end. So I took a quick flight to Panama, and now I'm driving down to the Darien Gap on this side to try to meet them. And I think I figured out how these drug runners are taking advantage of the flow of migrants to move their product north. What they do is get local Colombian guys to put on backpacks full of cocaine, and then they salt them in with the migrants. That's because the migrants are getting preferential treatment from immigration officials at the border. See, the border's actually closed, but Colombian immigration officials told me they're being instructed to look the other way when the migrants come through. And so in that way, these guys can get their drugs north without being stopped at the border. I made it to the camp where the migrants were being kept, but wasn't allowed to enter because of COVID restrictions. I did manage to get through on the phone to a 16-year-old Haitian migrant named Madesi.
Many people died. One woman drowned and 2 other men lost their wives. Many people died.
In all, 12 of the 70 or so migrants we witnessed at the start of their journey did not survive, including this 10-month-old baby who succumbed to dysentery. In addition, Madesi told me the entire group was robbed at gunpoint, and at least a dozen women were raped by cartel members. But the migrants keep coming. Locals say the number is up 4-fold in the last 2 months. The flow of cocaine is keeping pace as well. Panama seized more than 1.5 tons a week for the past year. But while the cartels have to evade authorities to move their drugs, the flow of people is much easier, because the migrants get support from local governments as they transit Central America. Victor Avila is a former ICE agent.
The cartels have taken over. We used to have the human traffickers and the human smugglers and the drug traffickers. That no longer exists. It's now all the cartels. You will encounter the cartels. You will have to pay the piso, the plaza, the quota to them, whether you're going to turn yourself in or not. These people are paying $3,500, $4,000 a head to even turn themselves in to seek asylum.
So whether it's Haitians or heroin, Cubans or cocaine, the narcos are getting rich either way. From Panama, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
And thank you so much for joining us for this Faith Nation special on the situation down at the border. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here Monday.